Hey, GCL here. Real quick, I have to do another one of these film your TV videos since I don't think I'll find this online, and I just caught it this morning. In the wake of the attacks in Paris, there's something like 100 and almost 130 dead. That number is sure to go up, and of course CNN doesn't get it and still is pushing a liberal narrative, even in the wake of all this death and devastation. So Huckabee's on this morning. Not a fan of the biggest fan of the guy, but I don't like the religious stuff. But he does make a lot of sense, especially in this interview. Check this out. Listen to this idiot anchor at CNN. He just does not get it.
Reactions to the Paris attacks are coming in overnight from across the political spectrum. Donald Trump sent his prayers to the victims. Hillary Clinton said no terrorist attack will ever dim the spirit of the French people. My next guest is Republican presidential candidate and former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee, who joins me from Florida. Governor, President Hollande said this is an act of war. Pope Francis said it's the Third World War. It makes me wonder, in a political context, whether Lindsey Graham is about to have some company now when he says we need to commit ground troops. Are you prepared to make that kind of a statement?
Michael, I've been saying that for a long time. You can't exclude the possibility of ground troops. I've also said that it can't just be American ground troops. There are things this president has got to wake up and understand. He has to start putting the priority of protecting Americans, not the image of Islam. And just yesterday, he's on television saying that we've contained ISIS. Well, clearly we haven't. These dogs are unleashed, and the only thing that we're going to ever do to stop them is to take aggressive action. I'm calling on the president to do four things. Number one, we need to close our borders. I mean, if a left-wing, politically correct country like France will close its borders, it's time for us to put a moratorium on people coming here from countries where there are ISIS or Al-Qaeda ties. A second thing we need to do is that we simply need to have a very serious coalition built with people from around the world that includes Russia, the NATO nations, that includes the Middle Eastern countries, many of whom are in the neighborhood. And we need to aggressively fight ISIS and destroy it. And while we're at it, let's get rid of Al-Qaeda. Let's take this straight to these terrorists who are savagely murdering innocent people sitting in cafes and stadiums. It has to be done.
Governor, I hear you saying we should close the borders, and yet I look at this, maybe it's a glass half empty, glass half full, but I look at what just transpired in Paris and I feel even more sympathy
It's a glass
for the
half stupid.
refugees who are fleeing this craziness because it's taking place in their country. I'm thinking about the Syrians. So I guess I'm pushing back and saying, doesn't this make you more sympathetic and more willing to be helpful to the people who have to live with this more so than we have?
Well, we can import it to our country if we want to, Michael, but it seems to me that the craziest thing we can do is to take people who live in a desert, who don't speak our language, who don't understand our culture, who don't share a same worldview, and bring them to Minnesota during the winter. Or we can decide that we can provide some humanitarian assistance, but let's demand that they go to Saudi Arabia and we'll create a refugee place there, or in Dubai, or let's do it in Jordan. But for goodness sake, why would we do it in Europe or the United States when you're going to displace not just people geographically, but you're going to completely displace them culturally, linguistically, even climatically?
I've got four kids. Wait a minute, I've got four kids at home, and I think about a husband and wife who are living with this on a day-to-day basis, who want to get the hell out of there and have no part in any of this. And isn't that what the United? I mean, send us your weary. Isn't that what the United States is all
For Christ's
about?
sake.
Yeah, but it doesn't say send us your terrorist.
Well, I don't want to let the terrorists in. Well, I don't want to let the terrorists
Yeah,
in.
you do.
The people who are being preyed upon by the terrorists.
What an imbecile. Jesus
And
Christ.
that's why we need to have a better process. We don't just have open borders like they do in Europe. This is what's the result of the EU saying, yep, come on in. And the result is there's really no way to, as the president would say, contain them. Look, if
Shut the
we
fuck
have
up.
people who are trying to truly escape the horrors of these radical Islamic groups, then let's give them safe haven. But it doesn't have to be in the borders of the United States of America. Even our own FBI director says we don't have the capacity to properly vet people to know whether we're letting in a refugee or we're letting in a terrorist.
To be continued, and thank you for being here.
Stupid, bald-ass liberal.
Follow me on
I mean,
Twitter.
Oh my God. All right. Well, you make of that what you will. I mean, obviously, this guy doesn't get it.